Welcome back to Peaceful Parenting. I'm John, and I'm here with my co-host, Susan. Last time we talked about parental anger and why we lost our cool. Today we're diving into a crucial next step, identifying and managing triggers. Susan, have you ever reacted strongly to something your kids did, only to realize later that your response was about more than just that moment?
Oh, absolutely, John. Sometimes it's not just the tantrum or the back talk that sets me off. It's something more profound. That's why understanding our triggers is so important. Once we know what's pushing our buttons, we can break the cycle and respond more calmly.
So, let's start with a big question. What is a trigger?
A trigger is anything that sparks an intense emotional reaction. In parenting, triggers can be whining, defiance, or messy room. But often, it's not just the situation itself. It's how we perceive it based on our past experiences.
That makes sense. So, if a child talking back upset a parent, it might not just be about that moment. It could be tied to how they were raised or past experiences.
Exactly. And that's why two parents can react very differently to the same behavior. One might shrug off a tantrum, while another gets instantly frustrated.
Let's talk about childhood experiences. How does the way we were raised affect how we react as parents?
Well, if you grew up in a household where yelling was shared, you might find yourself doing the same thing, even if you don't want to. On the other hand, if you were often ignored or dismissed as a child, you might get extra frustrated when your kids don't listen because it taps into that old wound.
That's powerful. Sometimes our anger may stem from unresolved personal feelings rather than being related to our children.
Exactly. Recognizing that is the first step in changing our reactions.
Let's get specific. Why do things like tantrums, backtalk, or messes seem to push so many parents over the edge?
Those situations can make us feel powerless or disrespected. For example, a messy room might make a parent feel like they have no control, especially if they already feel overwhelmed. Backtalk might remind someone of a time they weren't allowed to express themselves as a child.
So it's really about the deeper meaning behind the behavior, not just the behavior itself.
Right. When we understand why certain things trigger us, we can separate our emotions from the situation and respond more thoughtfully.
Let's break down two triggers, external and internal. Susan, can you explain the difference?
Sure. External triggers happen around us, like a child's meltdown, a loud noise, or a long to-do list. Internal triggers come from within, like feeling unappreciated, exhausted, or stressed from work.
And I imagine internal triggers make us more reactive to external ones.
Exactly. If you're already stressed from work, a spilled drink might send you over the edge. But if you're in a good mood, you might just laugh it off.
The goal is to manage our internal state so that external triggers don't take over.
Let's talk solutions. One great way to understand your triggers is through journaling. Take a few days and write down the moments you felt frustrated. Then look for patterns. Are there common themes?
That's a great idea. If you notice that mornings are always stressful, you can take steps to make them smoother, like prepping the night before.
Another simple but powerful tool is the 5-second rule. When you feel triggered, pause for 5 seconds before reacting. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, what am I responding to here?
That tiny pause can differentiate between yelling and responding calmly.
Exactly. And the more we practice, the easier it gets.
This has been such a great discussion. Understanding our triggers is a game changer for staying calm as parents.
Absolutely. Next time, we'll talk about anger management for parents, how to regulate our emotions and teach our kids to do the same. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you found today's episode helpful, leave a review. We are basing our podcast on a book, Anger Management Solutions for Parents, and sharing the contents through discussions with you in each segment.
Until next time, take a deep breath. You've got this. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Remember, understanding your triggers is the first step to breaking the cycle. The research is clear. Every small step you take toward managing your triggers creates ripples of positive change for generations to come.